Red Bull has just revealed new evidence from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and this evidence directly targets Lando Norris with claims of an illegal overtake that could change the entire outcome of the championship. The FIA has already reacted to the submission, and insiders confirm that a heavy penalty is now on the table with real consequences for both Norris and McLaren as the investigation accelerates. The tension inside McLaren is overwhelming as engineers and strategists scramble to explain the footage, while Red Bull pushes for an immediate sanction that could swing the title straight into the hands of Verstappen. Stay right here, because what you are about to hear may be the biggest twist of the season, and subscribe to the channel now so you do not miss the next update as the FIA prepares its ruling. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix was already set to be dramatic, but now it has exploded into full controversy. Red Bull has officially submitted new visual and telemetry evidence to the FIA, claiming that Lando Norris executed an off-track overtake that gave him an unfair position during a critical phase of the race. What makes this situation even more volatile is that the footage in question was not part of the original broadcast. It surfaced later through internal Red Bull channels and onboard data analysis. According to key figures within the paddock, this is not just about an error in judgment, but a breach that could change the result of the World Championship. Behind the scenes, the FIA moved fast. Within hours of Red Bull's formal complaint, a post-race review panel was activated. They are now analyzing GPS trace overlays, camera angles from the trackside sensors, and specific radio messages between Norris and the McLaren pit wall during laps 39 to 41. The focus is clear: did Norris rejoin the track without giving back the advantage, and was McLaren aware of the breach in real time but chose not to act? These are the questions now fueling the investigation. Meanwhile, tension is boiling inside McLaren. Team sources describe an atmosphere of disbelief and internal conflict. Engineers argue that Norris was forced wide due to track conditions and Verstappen's aggressive defense, while strategists are reportedly alarmed by the tone of the FIA's language in preliminary debriefs. The fear now is not just a time penalty but a possible disqualification or points deduction, which could instantly swing the championship. The pressure is immense, and every second counts as the evidence is dissected. What sets this case apart is the weight of the images released. Red Bull's technical director presented a frame-by-frame breakdown showing Norris placing four wheels completely off the racing line, overtaking while outside track limits, and not yielding the position. This kind of breach has led to penalties in the past, but never in a situation with the title on the line. The last time we saw controversy at this scale in Abu Dhabi, it decided a world champion. Could history repeat itself here? Max Verstappen's camp, for their part, is silent but clearly confident. Verstappen's post-race comments were vague, but team insiders say the Dutch driver was told immediately after the race that a protest had been filed. Since then, Verstappen's body language has changed, completely composed, focused, and notably quiet during media sessions. He knows the implications. If the FIA sides with Red Bull, he could be handed the title without turning another lap. On social media, the storm is already massive. F1 fans are divided, with one side calling Red Bull's move tactical and the other accusing McLaren of pushing the limits of legality. Hashtag wars have erupted, with Norris penalty and justice for Max trending globally. Every angle, every radio message, and every second of track footage is now under the microscope. But the final word will come from the FIA, and the stakes could not be higher. This is no longer just about Abu Dhabi. It is about trust in the sport, integrity of championship decisions, and the future reputations of drivers and teams. With hours left before the final ruling, all eyes are on the stewards. And as we move into the core of this unfolding scandal, one thing is absolutely clear: this was only the beginning. At the heart of this controversy lies a decision made in real time by McLaren's pit wall, a decision that now threatens to undo everything Lando Norris achieved on Sunday. When Norris went off track during that crucial overtaking maneuver, all eyes in the garage shifted to one key monitor: the live track position map. That system showed Norris clearly ahead, but also clearly outside the white lines. Under FIA regulations, gaining a lasting advantage by leaving the track is a breach that must be corrected immediately. McLaren's failure to instruct Norris to give the place back now looks like a catastrophic misjudgment. The most damaging detail isn't just what happened on the track, it's what happened on the radio. Multiple sources within the FIA confirm that McLaren had real-time telemetry proving Norris was off track at the moment of the overtake. Furthermore, leaked audio suggests the race engineer hesitated, then told Norris to keep pushing. That phrase, so often a sign of confidence, may now be reinterpreted as a deliberate choice to ignore the rulebook in favor of track position. In a championship-deciding race, that is a move with enormous consequences. Red Bull's legal and technical departments were swift. Within 15 minutes of the checkered flag, a full evidence package had been submitted, complete with sector time comparisons, throttle traces, and side-by-side footage with Verstappen's on board. The tone of the complaint was clear: McLaren knowingly allowed Norris to maintain a position gained illegally, and in doing so compromised the integrity of the final race results. That kind of accusation doesn't just go away, it triggers a full review process at the highest level. From the FIA's perspective, the timeline makes this case even more delicate. Article 33.3 of the sporting regulations clearly states that any driver leaving the track must rejoin safely and without gaining a lasting advantage. Historically, drivers have been instructed to give the place back within 1 or 2 corners, something that did not happen here. If McLaren's internal communication confirms they were aware of the breach and chose not to act, the FIA has precedent to impose a time penalty or even disqualification. What complicates things further is the nature of the evidence. This is not a case of subjective interpretation. The visuals from the Red Bull on board, combined with GPS overlays, make it crystal clear that Norris completed the move off track. And unlike other incidents where a car is forced wide, this one lacks the mitigating circumstances typically used in defense. Verstappen left a car's width. There was no contact. Norris simply pushed the limit and perhaps pushed it too far. That removes ambiguity and gives the FIA a stronger position to act. Meanwhile, within McLaren, the fallout has already begun. Team principal Andrea Stella was seen in a tense exchange with sporting director Emanuele Pirro shortly after the investigation was confirmed. Sources close to the team say there is deep frustration internally, not just about the incident itself, but about how the race strategy team responded under pressure. A mistake like this in a title decider risks becoming a defining moment in the team's modern era. And for Norris, it's a moment that could stain what was otherwise a brilliant drive. From a competitive standpoint, the implications are enormous. If the FIA rules against McLaren, even a 5-second time penalty would drop Norris behind Verstappen in the final results. If the sanction is harsher, such as a disqualification, the entire race outcome changes, handing Red Bull and Verstappen the title. That would not only rewrite the championship story but also mark one of the most controversial decisions in F1 history. And yet, based on the evidence currently under review, that outcome is very much on the table. Formula One is a game of millimeters and milliseconds, and in Abu Dhabi, both may have caught McLaren out. The move that put Norris under scrutiny wasn't just aggressive, it was executed at the outer limits of car and track performance. The telemetry data shows that during the controversial lap, Norris was pushing the McLaren's entry and exit speeds to the edge, with tire load and brake temperatures hitting peak values. The car was operating in what engineers call the critical window, where maximum grip is available, but there is zero margin for error. That's exactly where things went sideways, literally. McLaren's setup for Norris had prioritized straight-line speed and late braking stability, ideal for overtaking on the long back straight. However, in pushing those settings, they compromised slightly on mid-corner grip. When Norris made his move around Verstappen, he braked late but didn't have the lateral stability to stay on the racing line. The result? 4 wheels off the track, just long enough to complete the pass. And in F1, that's the kind of move that invites an inquiry, especially with a title on the line. Red Bull's engineers immediately noticed the deviation. They were monitoring the car's positioning via GPS telemetry and knew almost instantly that Norris had breached track limits. Their argument wasn't just about racecraft, it was about data. The pass was illegal not because it looked wrong, but because it measured wrong. In a sport where even tire degradation is calculated to the decimal, this kind of analysis carries enormous weight, and Red Bull came prepared. The technology behind this is astonishing. F1 teams use ultra-precise inertial measurement units, IMUs, and high-fidelity GPS that update positions hundreds of times per second. Red Bull overlaid their data with FIA sensors and determined that Norris had extended the car's minimum corner radius beyond legal bounds, an engineering way of saying he went too wide to gain speed. These overlays reportedly show a clear departure from what's allowed, with no obstruction from Verstappen. That level of technical proof is hard to ignore. Back at McLaren, the post-race diagnostics told the same story, but their interpretation was different. According to internal sources, the team initially believed Norris had been forced off due to an evasive maneuver. Their simulations post-race, however, indicated the move may have been self-inflicted. The track model revealed Norris had enough grip to stay on the racing line, but took a wider approach to maintain momentum, a move that looked smart at the time but now may look calculated. This is where engineering meets intent, and that distinction is everything to the FIA. If Norris's excursion off track was the result of a mistake, a lesser penalty may be justified. But if McLaren tuned the car and instructed the driver to use all the space available even beyond the limits, it becomes a deliberate advantage, and that carries heavy consequences. As of now, the FIA is examining onboard steering inputs, brake bias settings, and torque delivery to determine whether the breach was truly accidental. What makes this moment unique is how technology is both the tool of offense and defense. Red Bull used engineering data to build their case. McLaren is now using the same tools to justify their strategy. But in this battle of sensors, simulators, and racecraft, only one narrative will survive, and the FIA is about to decide which one holds up. The entire championship could swing on a few centimeters of tarmac and a few degrees of steering angle. That is the reality of Formula One at the engineering limit.